A great percentage of business in Africa fails because there's little or no market need for job product or services. Some fail because they didn't have the right team running the business. So you listening to this video, you surely have developed a prototype of your product and you're asking yourself, where am I going to sell it? Is it the ideal product to solve the problem in my community? Welcome on Career Show. My name is Carl Kenye. If you are new on this channel, don't forget to subscribe and to click the notification bell in order not to miss any session. So today we are going to talk about sales strategy, techniques to look for the right partner, communication in business, and we are going to talk about the act of be fearless. That is giving yourself the permission to be you. Today, we are welcoming a great public figure, a source of inspiration for many young Africans. So, we are going to receive Madam Jane Egerton-Idehen, who is the head of sales at Facebook, Middle East and Africa, and also was the former country manager of Avantis Communication PLC Nigeria. Welcome on Career Show.
Thank you, Carl. It's good to be here. Good to be on the show.
Okay, madam. I know you, but many people listening to this video are actually asking themselves, who is that madam? So, madam, if you can present yourself in your own way, or if I may ask, who is Madam Jane Egerton-Idehen?
So, in simple terms, I'm just a woman that is very passionate about the continent, about Africa. I have spent 2 decades working in the tech sector in Africa. So before my current role, so currently I had the sales for the Middle East and Africa for Facebook. But before that, I spent a lot of time working in the telecommunications sector in Africa. I've worked for companies like Nokia Siemens, now known as Nokia, Ericsson. I've worked for satellite companies, Avanti, Vodacom Business. So I've really spent a long time in tech. I started off tech because I did study engineering. So I started off as an engineer. I grew as an engineer, but I always say that I stumbled into sales. It wasn't the original plan. I was going to, have an entirely techie career. But sometimes things happen in life and we pivot. And that's why I say sometimes you're always discovering yourself. You never really know yourself. And that's how I got into sales. I found that I had very good talents. I love to challenge myself. So I do a lot of physical activities. So I play tennis, I play golf. I love to dance, ballroom dancing, salsa. I'm married. I have 2 kids, a boy and a girl. My son is 13 and my daughter is 10. I'm very passionate about having women choose careers for themselves and also grow in their career. I'm very passionate about having young girls who decide to study STEM, grow their careers in STEM. I have a passion to help people that are underprivileged because that's my story. I've written a book, Be Fearless, Give Yourself Permission to Be You. And that book shares a lot about my career story and my personal journey. So in simple terms, this is Jane, passionate about the African continent.
Wow, exactly, madam. Listening to your background, we saw that you have a very rich experience. And the question now is, where do you get that energy? Where do you get that motivation as a leader to stand, to tell yourself that no matter how hard things are, I will never give up?
So I'll start by, not like initially or like every day you wake up, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm not scared. So it's something that really grows upon you. And I tell people when you do the small ones, you become more confident and you can do the big ones. So earlier on, I was also scared. I was anxious like many people. Will I get a good job? Will I get a good career? Will I get a good, all these things worry and, create anxiety. But your ability to stand apart and do the right things, even though when it's scary, that's what I call being fearless, is really doing those things, even though they scare you. But you are so, your instinct, you're so convinced that is the path you should go. And that's where you get a lot of energy. Because when it scares you, you do it and you see the outcome, you have the energy to keep going on. I normally say that I'm always energized by a challenge. So I also find out that if you tell me something cannot be done, something that is difficult, you get me interested. So for what motivates me, I see it as a journey. So it's not static. And I would explain. When I was much younger, especially based on the background I was coming from, I just wanted to survive. So what was motivating me? Can I earn enough to take care of myself, take care of my family? As I grew older, it slightly changed. I wanted to help other people like me, other people that are coming from lower underprivileged background. What can I do to help others? Now, I'm driven by much, much more. Every day I show up to work is more than just I want to survive or I want to help people. It's more I want to leave a legacy. I want to take on projects, take on roles, take on spaces where when I sit at that table, I can leave that door open for some other people. That even years after I go, years after I leave the role, years after I leave the company, because I was there, many more people like me would have the ability to do what I'm doing and do much more. So I'm really motivated by that desire to influence my community, to leave a mark, to support others. And that keeps me going because right now it's not a matter of like the money. Like it's not how much would you pay me or how much I would get. It's what can I do and how can I help others? How can I ensure that all I've been given, I can impact it to others? So that's really what drives me now. That's why I say motivation sometimes is fluid. As you get better, as you evolve, your motivation could change as well.
Okay, sure, madam. At the earlier beginning, madam, we're talking about your book. Be fearless. Get yourself permission to be you. So the question is, madam, what inspired you? What inspired you to write that book? Because I think it was bestseller.
Yes, it was a bestseller on Amazon. I wrote the book and I published it in 2020. And so initially, I'll give a little bit low that I was writing, but I was writing, it was more out of like therapy. It was my way of sharing my thoughts, of putting them on paper and sharing with others. I would say the muse for that book was my daughter. There was a time in my life I was so burdened about how would I've acquired so much experience. I have taken up, I've gone to places, I've been so exposed. I was really thinking about how can I pass that knowledge to my daughter. And that's the motivation for the book. I wanted to document my experiences in a way that I could pass it on to my daughter. She was young then, I think she was about 3. And my daughter became the muse for the book. So I decided to document these things. So originally, actually, the book was titled A Letter to My Daughter because that was the inspiration for writing the book. Even when I would write the book and I would get stuck, you know how you have like a writer's block, you don't know what to write. I always used to imagine, like, if my daughter was sitting here, what do I want to tell her? What do I really want to say? What am I trying to say to my daughter? And whenever I thought in that way, I was able to write. So my daughter is actually my motivation for writing the book. Because my daughter, for me, is a symbol of my younger self. And for me, she becomes like a mirror for all the young people out there I was trying to reach out to. Jane, 20 years ago, like I always say, those young people that are looking for hope, inspiration, wondering, can they grow a career in this field? Can their life be like this? Can their life be better? When people are limited by their circumstances and asking the question, can it be better? And that's why I wrote that book. That hope, the book I wrote is the hope to inspire people to share my own personal story so that they can see that your circumstance cannot limit you. You might be born into a certain situation or circumstance you don't have a control over, because most times you don't have control over the family you're born into, your parents, or the situation you find yourself. But you have permission to take the bold steps that will make life better. That will make life better for you.
Well, exactly, madam. Madam, let's talk about your experience, your career. Madam, can you share with us your worst experience as a leader? Maybe the day where everything went wrong.
I've had lots of days where everything go wrong. Yeah, so it's always good to remember that it's not a perfect world. I have loads and loads of experiences. I've had cases where, let me say, I've had a case like one of the biggest deals one of the biggest deals I closed as a salesperson. This was like 15 years ago. I remember the first time I met that client, and I told the client, "This is my intention. Oh, we would like to do this project with you." And the client looked me square in the eye and said, "Never. We can never do this project with your organization because of this, this, and this." You know, she gave me all the reasons why they couldn't do the project. You know, I just listened. I didn't, start an argument. I didn't try to prove that I'm wrong. I just noted all the points she gave. Of course, when I went home that day, I was sad because that was a big goal my company had set, and I was meant to deliver it. But look at the client. My key contact is telling me that it can never be done. And that's why in life, you should never take no. So I was sad for a couple of days, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought about all those things she said and how could I address them. And I went on to start trying to address each and every one of them. 1 year later, they signed the deal. And it was the largest deal my organization has signed in West Africa. At least since I signed that deal. They haven't signed a bigger deal. The organization I used to work for. So there will be bad days. I've had lots of bad days for different reasons. Sometimes it's got to do with my gender. As a woman in tech, it's and being a female leader in tech. Some days are not, you're the only female in the room. Sometimes people don't take you serious because they look like she's a woman and she's young, she's doing this job. People are like, "Where's the boss? We want to see the boss." And I'm like, "I am the boss. This is what you get." And there are days where even the clients, I've taken up job where for a while, even the clients like, "Why would they send this person to us? Just a woman. We need a guy." And that feels bad to hear that people think because of your gender you can't do the job.
Do you have a particular experience that is related with the gender as you're talking about gender? Because
I have lots of experience.
There will be many young African women that will be watching this video, and they will be very interested to know maybe about your experience, what you learn from it, and what advice you can give to them.
I have loads of experience, and I share some of them in my book. Sometimes it's as simple as I take a client for dinner. And first of all, the waiter or the waitress is only giving the client attention because they feel like he's the guy, he's going to pay. But at the end of the dinner, I'm the one paying. So you see that you're trying to place your order and nobody's giving you attention. Until the client reminds the waiter that she's the one putting the bill. You better give her attention. Why are you ignoring her? And I laugh. I take my whole team for dinner. And, the waiters are, because it's a large team. And most of them are from all different parts of the world. They're mostly men, but they are I am the boss. But then the waiter thinks that, no, you must be the secretary or something. There are lots of experience. I remember one of the first jobs I took as a manager. I would walk into a room. I was the only female apart from my PA, so my assistant. And then I called the HR. I said, we have to change this. I'm not saying we should just recruit people because they are women. But I'm saying we should reflect our society. We should reflect the customer, whatever, because if you go to the customer is mixed gender, why would everybody just be one gender? If you want to solve problems, and that's what we were trying to do, is basically solve problems with tech. You need to understand your audience, your target market. If your audience is not only one gender, then in terms of creating the solution, you shouldn't have only one gender in the room. If not, you'll be disconnected from the target audience. You will not have you don't have a proper way to solve the solution, or you'll be creating a solution that is a misfit for the target audience. So there have been lots of cases. Sometimes it's even got to do with career promotion. Being a woman in tech, especially for multinationals, most times for big promotions, you have to leave your country, relocate. And sometimes people struggle to see how you would do it because they feel like, oh, you're a woman. Nah, if they do promote you, this would be unfair because you have to move, you have to leave the country. And what they forget is that they don't have to make those decisions for you. I work hard and I want the promotion. You don't make the decision for me. At least you should ask me before you decide that I'm not going to want it. So I've had cases like that, and really it's just to do with your gender, because if it was a man, nobody would say, oh, we can't send him to Texas because his wife is going to be upset. Nobody says that. Sometimes it's even in interviews. I sit on an interview panel and someone is interviewing me and asking me questions like, do you plan to have more kids? If it was my husband sitting on that interview panel for that job role, irrespective of how big the role is, nobody's going to ask him, do you plan to have more kids? It has got nothing to do with the role. Because what's more important is your skill set. If you want to have more kids or not have more kids, that's a personal issue. So yes, and I am optimistic. I think it's getting better because I'm sharing experiences over the course of my 2 decades. But as it gets better, as we become more aware, and that's one of the reasons I love what I do, because I use my voice as a platform to really highlight some of these issues, call them out, especially if they're not right. And sometimes I don't even know until after on reflection, I'm like, that's strange. Why are they asking me about if I want to have more kids? It's got nothing to do with the role. Do I plan to be pregnant in the future? Am I going to have more? It's nothing to do with, you shouldn't be asking a woman that in an interview that's got nothing to do with. So we're all learning, but I think the more we call out these issues, we will try. I don't think it's over. There will still be people with unconscious bias out there. But the more we speak out, use our platform, I think the more we can educate others.
Okay, sure. But madam, don't you think that there's a need maybe to deconstruct maybe that way of thinking that like many women have maybe put in your mind that certain sector belongs to the male and the others for the female?
So from my own personal experience, when you have kids, they're almost in their thinking, they're gender neutral. So my daughter at a young age will fiddle around with electronics just like my son. She wants to grab the cable, she wants to play with the TV, so many things she wants to do. I think it's our response to those activities that creates that mindset. When you start by telling her, oh, you shouldn't do this, you're a girl. Girls should not do this. This is too tough. Don't worry, you don't have to know the math. I think when you pass those kind of sublime messages, you're making her actual shrink. Because if they don't have that kind of exposure, they would go for whatever they want. It's because we start by telling them, oh, you shouldn't buy those kind of toys. That's for boys. You shouldn't buy. So in a way, you're indoctrinating them. And that's how we create the mindset. Because I remember when I was young, I went to a girls' boarding school. And when I would hear people talk about their parents' careers, and that's one of the reasons I'm like, after hearing, I told you I'm very much intrigued by a challenge. After I heard that engineering is tough, I told myself I'm going to study engineering. Nobody told me at that stage it's boys only. What I was just told is that it was tough. And I told myself I want to do it because it's tough. But the older I became, and the more I told other people this is what I wanted to do, the more people told me, oh, you can't do it. You're a girl. Girls should not study engineering. It's for men. Are you going to be carrying tools? Are you going to climb the pole? People were sending me those messages to make it look like because of my gender, I can't do it. People will tell me then, uncles will tell me, why are you trying to study engineering? It's 5 years. Why do you want to spend that long time in university? Just do like a 4-year course and come and get married. Because to them, my greatest achievement would be to get married, get a good husband. They didn't think I should struggle and, I don't have to crack my head and do something too tough. Just keep it simple and come and get married. And I think it's when you send those messages to women, you're making them limit themselves. Because I don't think every woman wakes up and decides that, oh, I don't want to do this, it's too tough. Of course, there'll be some people that don't want to do it. But in most cases, the society, the culture, the family is sending those messages to them, telling them it's too tough. They shouldn't do it. It's for men.
Exactly. But madam, you have a great number of years of experience at the level of the sales. So according to you, what are the practical ways that young African can put in practice in order to be successful in their e-commerce activities or to sell the prototype of their product?
I think some of them you said in the start when you were talking about if your product doesn't solve a problem, that's already there's a gap. You know, even as a salesperson, as an entrepreneur, what you're looking for is a product market fit. There's a problem, you're trying to solve it. There's a problem, you have a better solution than what exists for this solution to create. That's when you create your own. So if there's no fit, if there's no gap and you're trying to fill, number one, it's always a problem. You know, you can't force on people, because that's how I used to think initially about sales. I thought salespeople are people that go trying to force people to buy things they don't want. So I didn't like sales. That's why I said I was really tech. I didn't want to do sales. But I realized that sales is not about that. And I would say for anybody there thinking of going into sales or young entrepreneurs into commerce, for me, sales is not trying to force people. Sales is trying to understand the challenges people have and you're looking for a solution for them. And if you think like that, even in your e-commerce business, you will see that you will thrive. You look for what the challenges are. What is the problem they have? What is the gap? That is what you're looking for. Then you go and find the solution. And sometimes it's a pilot. You try something for 3 months. You listen to your clients. What are they saying? No, we don't want it this way. It will be better this way. You're taking all that feedback to refine the product, because initially you come up with a solution. It might not be perfect. Initially you come up with the product. It will not be perfect. It doesn't meet all the needs, or it's not commercially viable. So it meets some of the needs, but it's not enough for people to pay for it. So that means the value is not yet quantifiably, there. So you do the refinement. That's why you do the pilot, because you are trying to, what can I do more? How can I improve it until you get something that people are willing to pay you for? And that's commerce. And for me, that is what is sales. You're finding the solutions to the problems. Sometimes it takes a couple of weeks. Sometimes it takes a couple of months. Sometimes it means you have to collaborate and partner with others. Sometimes it means you have to use technology. Sometimes it means you have to improve something that already exists in the market. Because I remember when I started the startups, I did start a startup in 2011. And what were we trying to do? We were just trying to meet a gap in the market. We found out that there was a gap when women were pregnant and they were career women. They struggled to keep their wardrobe the way it was before they got pregnant. So, and people, especially people that care about the way they look, you don't, because you look pregnant, it doesn't mean that your brains have disappeared. You still want to look smart. And at that time, there was a gap. There was nobody addressing that market. And we took it upon ourselves because it was a problem we were facing. Myself and a couple of friends. And we said, if we're facing the problem, other people could be facing the problem. So we went around trying to find it. And we found that lots of people are facing the problem. Women in the banking sector, in the oil and gas. These are women that would normally dress well to work. And once they get pregnant, they cannot find what to wear. And we decided to solve it. But we wanted to solve it in a way that it would be affordable. It would still be an attractive. So if people find value, price, quality, time. We're trying to make sure these three things fit. Each time you come to the store or you come online, you can find whatever you want at whatever size you want, at whatever color. Ease, we will deliver it to you and the price will just be right. You don't need to order from outside the country because there will be the difference is minimal. So we were bringing value. And with that startup, we were able to expand. We ended up expanding to two other countries in West Africa. So that's what I would say to young Africans is that your goal always, of course, there are other things to consider: raising capital, recruiting the right people, the right expertise, getting the skill set, having, making sure the right advisors and shareholders. But the first thing is having the right product.
Okay, sure, madam. So we are going to take a short break and we are going to come back in a minute. welcome back on Career Show. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe and to click the notification bell. Yeah, so just to remind, we are still with Madam Jane Egerton-Idehen, who is the head of sales of Facebook, Middle East and Africa. Welcome back, Madam. So, Madam, the next question that we wish to ask you is, what are the tips, according to you, to select a good partner or a good assistant? Because, you know, there are many young Africans out there with great ideas. But we're asking themselves, like, what strategy I can put in place to have a nice assistant who can work with me toward the realization of that idea. So according to you, what are the tips?
I will share some of my personal, this is my own personal motto, you know, so people could think otherwise. When it comes to business, I try. Some people think differently, but I try not to mix business and pleasure. So I wouldn't do business with my very close friends, especially if they are very close to me. I think when you're getting into a partnership, one of the key things to do, especially when it comes to business, is to really define the skill set people are bringing. So talk about different. I think first of all is the skill set. You have to be clear. I want a partner. This is my strength. These are things that are not my strength. So I need a partner that can fill the gap where I'm not, where it's not my strength. Do you get it? So that's what I say, define the skill. So for example, I want to start a business. I know I'm good in sales and marketing, but I'm not good in tech. I'm not good in legal things or operational things. So when I'm looking for a partner, it's not advisable to look for a partner that is good in sales and marketing because I'm already good at it. We can't have everybody good in sales. So you're looking for a partner that will, you know, support or complement you. So those things you're not good at, operations, technology, legal, you know, whatever you think, oh, these things I'm not good at, first of all, that's where you should look at. But two, I think you should consider personality or attitude. Sometimes it's easier when personalities also complement. So if everybody in the startup is we're all introverts, that's a problem. Because who will pitch and present to the investors? Who will go trying to raise funds? Who will go, you know, who will be the face to push for us out there? So you're also looking for a mix in the personality so that, you know, I might not be good at giving press statements or going for media, but you are good. So we would have somebody, if we need to do an interview, at least one of us should be able to go for it. The third thing I would say is attitude. So now we're talking about skill set, we're talking about personality. Attitude, or you can also say character, for me is important. Another way to define it is to say, what are your core values? And do we all have the shared core values? That for me is also important. I say that some people don't take it important, but it's important because if we don't have the same core values, like I know that in business, I will not do things that are unethical. But if you don't have those kind of core values, we would always have a clash because you would always have crises and you would always have, you know, all the surprises that need intervention. There will be a problem to come to a consensus, but maybe because, for example, we might have a crisis and one of the possible solutions is to give a bribe. My core value, I believe that business should be ethical. And I say, no, we're not giving a bribe. But my partner says, yes, we have to give the bribe. You know, if you don't have the same core value, it creates a lot of conflict. You do need conflict in other areas. There's a healthy amount of conflict required. But I don't think it should be in your core. If it's in the core values and in the attitude, like the attitude to work, that becomes a problem. Then I would say, the last one, I would say, I think people should buy into the vision, whatever you're trying to do. Maybe this is not a big priority, but especially as you get into that venture, it becomes important. If people don't buy into the vision, they won't have the staying power because the journey is never smooth. There'll be highs and lows. There'll be days everybody feels like giving up. And sometimes what will keep everybody going is that vision of what we are trying to achieve, what it is. And sometimes it's bigger than the money. It's bigger than the material possession. And if you don't buy into that vision, it's tough, because in the early stages for a startup, when it's tough, or in a business, when you have crisis, people that don't buy into the vision will leave because there's nothing in it for them. But those that buy into the vision will stay. They will stay because they see that picture, and that is the picture keeping them.
Oh.
So in summary, that's what I would say that you should consider. You should definitely consider skill set. You should consider, like I said, core values or attitude or character. If those things are important to you, they should be considered. You should consider personality. You want a mix. You want diversity in the room. We shouldn't all be the same. We shouldn't all be extroverted. We shouldn't all be phlegmatic. We should all be a mix. And that's where you see the synergy, because that diversity creates growth. Then I'll say shared vision. It's good to have people that share the same vision. And once they all share the same vision, it makes the work easier, even though it could be tough. Even though when you have challenges, it is easier to walk through it.
Oh. So, Madam, you wrote a book by asking yourself, because you were writing for your daughter, so you're asking yourself, if I was that age, what would I do? So now the question that I will ask you is equally, if you were at our age now and you were given $2,000 to start a business, what is the sector you will go for, and what are the 5 next steps you will take?
I can tell you the business I started when I was your age. My first business was, it was actually, they used to call them like business centers. So business centers, like, this small like tech hubs where people can go and make a call, if they want to browse the internet, something like that. Because that was the gap at that stage, at that point in life, which was like 20 years ago. That was the need. The technology sector was opening up, but not everybody can afford to buy a phone. And not everybody can afford to get a computer. So if you can create that service, especially if you're in an environment where people would like to use the service, but they cannot afford it for themselves, so you sell them that airtime to have that service, and you put a little markup, and that's one of my first few businesses. So I would say, for this time, look for the gaps that exist in your sector. Sometimes and you're looking for the gap that also mirrors your skill set. So if you don't have any expertise in it, it doesn't make sense. You either have to look for partners or look for people you can collaborate with. But I will not recommend you do something you have no knowledge about. So there are lots of services you can do at this age. It could be even, you want to do investments where you take residual income and you invest it. You're thinking of stock, you're thinking of crypto. Those are you can do it passive, you can do it active. So active is where you're really engaged, trading, you're selling and buying. But you can do it passive, where you put the money and you do like a long term. You wait 6 months, you wait 1 year, see the returns, move it around. So you don't even need $2,000. We can go on and on and on. You can decide to be a service provider. If there's a need, you find out there's a need somewhere. People need, it could even be a company is trying to recruit. People need labor. There's a place, people need nannies and helps. You feel you can build a website where people can come and you vet the nannies and the helps, or you vet those laborers or artisans, and people can, be able to connect to them. Your job is to go and vet them. You don't need $2,000 to do that. So you are like the shortee. You are the middleman. If I say, oh, I need a painter, instead of me to try to figure it out, I go to your website, and all you will do is list out all the painters, because you have already created that database, all the painters in my locality, and you can certify them for me. And when I call your hotline, which could be your personal phone, you say, okay, what kind of painter do you want? What time should they start? We will send you painters. This is the hourly rate. And all you can do is take a commission. That's a marketplace. There and then, you have created a marketplace. So there's all kinds of, health sector. People are looking for e-health. You understand? People want to be able to say, I'm looking for a dentist. I go to this website and you get me a dentist. Or I'm looking for a doctor. Or you can decide to do it with mobile money. You know, people pay a subscription. You create an app or you create a website. People pay a subscription, $1 a month or $2 a month, and you'll be able to get them a virtual doctor. And you can decide to go rural, where people can't really afford insurance and health insurance. But if they can afford $1 a month, you'll be able to give them remote health care. So there's so many sectors, so much you can do. It doesn't require even $2,000.
Wow, wow. But madam, we talk about investment, we talk about stock, we talk about cryptocurrency. So the question that I want to ask you now is because many young entrepreneurs have become involved and some have lost a lot of money. Others are giving rather positive signal of this business. What is your opinion of the place of the different instrument in entrepreneurship today? Do you think an African can tell himself that he can stay in his room with an initial deposit of $200 and become a multi-millionaire without building a real entrepreneurial project?
Yes, they can. Technology has made it that way. That's the advantage of tech. Most people with tech, you don't need 200 million.
But
Could be
madam,
just
I mean, sorry to cut you, but I mean with the use of cryptocurrency.
Oh yeah, but we've seen cases like that now. People that bought Bitcoin 10 years ago, I'm sure they're smiling to the bank. But the important thing is that you know that with any new disruptor is that it is erratic. It is not stable. There'll be highs and lows. Sometimes it will go high. It can't be predicted because it's in the early stage. That's what is innovation. Innovation disruptions always come with the instability. So can you ride the storm? Can you do it without being emotional about it? Because sometimes we buy it, we don't want to sell it, we want to keep it to ourselves. You know, what's your intention? Are you trying to make money, or you just want to say, I have Bitcoin or I have cryptocurrency? You know, those are the kind of things you have to, because if you're thinking as an entrepreneur, you're not buying things or you're not investing things just to. So it's like buying a car, put it in your garage, and every day you admire the car.
The reason why I was asking that question is because there are many people out there telling to young people that they can just invest in their institution $200, and people are going now to call people under them. They will be there and they will look for three people under them so that they will become their mentors, and now they will have $200 that will multiply and to become $10,000 in maybe in 1 month. That's what they tell them. Those people tell them, and now when they
I think
when now
that
they
is actually called network marketing.
yeah,
And
exactly,
sometimes it's like a Ponzi scheme.
exactly. That is what have taken, because many people that have been seeing people that were having brilliant mindset, thinking of developing nice idea. Now they are thinking about investing in cryptocurrency and
No, but that is
what
actually different from investing. So when you
but,
invest, it's like investing in stock. You
but
are doing the investment. There is no network behind you. You're not getting people and contributing. No, you are investing, buying that currency, buying that. So it's like trading in stock. It's different from network marketing. Maybe people are creating network marketing type, but that is not what I'm talking about. I'm actually talking about you directly investing and buying shares or stock
okay.
or buying cryptocurrency, holding on to it, or trading with it and using it. That is entirely different from selling or using a network type marketing effect to do investment.
The question is, what do you think of cryptocurrency?
I think cryptocurrency is the future. I think it's going to disrupt the financial institution, the banks, as we know them today. But like everything, when it comes in the early stages, it's still going through a lot. So it's going to take a while for it to be properly defined. Just think about Facebook, social media 20 years ago. A lot of people didn't understand, they didn't see why am I sharing my pictures and why am I, people didn't understand the value. Like, I don't want to be sharing pictures. Why would I be talking about what I eat and all that? But with time, as people understood what the value is, what the business model is, you will see that even regulators are now trying to see how can we regulate it. So it's the same thing with when you have disruptors like that. Initially, people don't get it because for most people, if you ask them, the traditional institution, put your money in the bank. Why would you buy a Bitcoin? Why would I trade with cryptocurrency? Because it's just like years ago. If you had told my dad where he works, that one day he wouldn't need to put a letter in an envelope and post it to send it to the other branch, that he just needs to sit in a computer and type it as an email, he wouldn't comprehend that. He'll be like, no. The way we do it, we write a memo, put it in an envelope, and we mail it via the post to the other office or to the head office. We just don't sit on a computer and type something. So that's the kind of disruption we're going to see in the financial institution. Today, when we trade exchanges, trade by barter, I have to give you money for something. Even when you go to the bank, isn't it? You have to put money in the bank, but it has to be physical money, something you can see and feel. But we are using technology to say, why does it have to be physical money? And why does it sit in a bank? Why doesn't it just sit among a couple of people that all agree that this code is money? We all agree that this code we're going to say is equivalent to this amount. And you should be able to use that code and buy something else. If you wanted to buy a car. So in the early stages, it will be difficult to comprehend because it's going to disrupt a lot of things. Would you need a bank? If we're doing this using mega computers, do we need banks? Banks always survive on transaction fees. Now they will not get transaction fees. What is going to happen to the banking sector as we know it? So in the early stages, while we are trying to, because a lot of things will come like security and all that, how secure are those systems? Can people hack into them? Just like in the early days with any other things. While we are trying to refine the solution itself, it will go through that moment of iteration where you now see the gaps in the system.
Wow. But madam, can you help us to differentiate between the real institute of Bitcoin and the fake one?
I would say most times you get cheated is because you're trying to be greedy. You want to get rich quickly. Most times, not all the time. So there's only one Bitcoin. There are different kinds of cryptocurrency, but Bitcoin is one type and it's one of the first few ones. There are so many other types of cryptocurrency. Because it's currently an unregulated space. So the banks today is regulated. There are institutions that regulate the bank. So if I go to a country, I can say, what are the official banks in Sweden, Ireland? They will list it. Now, when it comes to cryptocurrency, it's still an unregulated space. So there's no place to go and say, oh, can you give me the list of all the certified cryptocurrencies? So it's important that people do their research because there's no regulation yet. That part is still nascent, is still new. The onus is on you as the individual to do your research. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. So you have to do your own due diligence. You have to figure out, where are they listed? Who is behind it? Who are the investors? And what are they really trying to do? Because some of the things you explained to me, that is more sounding like network marketing or Ponzi. Cryptocurrency is just a currency people use to trade. If somebody is creating a whole network marketing structure out of it, that's an entirely different ball game. And that's what I'm talking about. That's people trying to get rich quick. And that's where there's a problem. If you think that once you put $200, you can get 2 million, then there's a big issue there. How would your $200 turn to 2 million? It's different from when you put $200. You know that you have $200 worth of that currency. So the question why you're doing the research is to find out how widespread is the use of that cryptocurrency. So what can I use it for? What's the value to me? Can I shop with it? Is it acceptable in most investment platforms? You have to do the due diligence, unfortunately. Sure. It's not a simple question to answer on this Zoom call. A lot
I,
will depend on
I see,
research.
madam,
Yeah.
but it was very necessary, very, very necessary what you're saying, what you said, very necessary. And the question that I want to ask you now is, what advice can you give to those that wish to go for cryptocurrency or for those who wish to become traders? Because there's someone who approached me who told me that that he's in an organization where you can be where you are, you trade, you invest, and there is 0% risk.
Do you believe that there's any way you can invest or trade and there will be no risk? There's always a risk. There's no fully, even when you go to the stock, there's always a risk. COVID could happen and the stock market crashes. What happens to your shares? They go down. So there's no investment, that is, devoid of risk. That if somebody tells you that should raise a red flag. If somebody tells you they would guarantee you some certain returns, no matter what, those are things should be raising red flags. There's no guarantees in investment. People can propose what is potentially possible. On an average, if you put your money in the bank, you will get 5%. So what investors are doing, you're looking for what will give you more than what is the bank. If something can give you more than 5%, why do people do real estate? Bank will give them 5%, but if they do real estate, they might get 7, 10. But when you're having an investment that gives you 100%, I think, and especially when they're telling you it's guaranteed, you should really investigate it. That's why I said sometimes it's driven by greed. Because that is almost difficult. Unless it's, and even when it's a destructive technology, most times the people themselves don't know. Think about it. When the owners started Facebook, they were not guaranteed that this was going to make money. When Twitter started, when Bitcoin started, they were not going to tell everybody, we're guaranteeing you are going to make money. They didn't know. To them, they're hoping to solve a problem and maybe they could make some money, but they will not give you any guarantees. Even the bank don't give you guarantees. So definitely that's a red flag. When someone starts telling you that it's fully guaranteed, there is no risk, that is a red flag. You also want to understand what the investment is all about. So if I'm saying, invest your money here, I'll give you these returns. The question you should ask the person, where are you investing the money? Money on its own does not double. There's no science to back that. You can't keep $200 and it becomes $400. Money appreciates when it's creating value. So if you give me $200, I invest it in my friend's business. When she makes money from her business, instead of giving me $200, she gives me $300 back. That is how money appreciates. It has to create value. And that's how it works in business. So if that money doesn't have any value back in it, then you should question it. If somebody just says, give me your money, in 6 months, I'm going to turn it around, and they cannot tell you what that money will be doing, that is a question mark. So you want to know what is behind the investment. Why do we do stock? Stock is basically saying that I'm buying shares into this company. The company is going to take my money and offer solutions or create products. Then when they make money from what they have sold or created, they will give me my money with a little bit extra. That is stock. So I own a little part of the company. You understand? If the company is not doing anything with the money, then you cannot make money. And that's how money works. And it's just as simple as that. If there's no investment backing that money you are putting, then you should question it. If they just tell you, give us the money, we will double it or we will triple it, and there's nothing tangible they will do with the money, that's a Ponzi scheme. That means they're collecting from people and redistributing it. And finally, one day the Ponzi scheme will fall, because once people start pulling out their money, and if a lot of people pull out their money at the same time, there will not be enough to give back to everyone. Then the Ponzi scheme collapses. Now, second thing is to figure out or educate yourself about the investment. So if I was going to go into stock, I have to educate myself. What are call options? What are stock market? You have to find out, understand all that thing. Because if you don't understand it, you won't do a good job at it. So the same thing, if I say, I want to invest in cryptocurrency, just figure out what is cryptocurrency. How do I invest in it? what happens when I convert my money to cryptocurrency? What is happening to my money? You have to understand all that. You shouldn't be naive. Because when you understand it, that is when you can tell when things is amiss. You understand? So there's no way, if I understand it, if somebody comes to me with a concept of, oh, give me some money, I'm going to buy crypto and it's going to double, I'll be like, crypto doesn't double in one day. That's not how it works. There has to be macro factors that creates demand. And that demand will make the price rise. So that's what causes the price to rise, is the fact that, say this is cryptocurrency. It becomes so valuable that a lot of us want it. Because a lot of us want it, the value keeps going up, and that's how the price goes up. Those are basic, basics math or basic investment. So these are some of the things I would say that people should watch out for. Just don't go blindly.
Okay. What I want to ask you is, what advice can you give to the head of state, like on the measures they can put in place to stimulate entrepreneurship among young Africans?
Advice. I think it's investment. You have to invest in the people. We have to create an environment that enables that. Because a lot of Africans are entrepreneurial. We like to solve problems. But sometimes there's no investment in them. So take, for example, if you go to local community, lots of people that have ideas of what they could do. A little bit investment, creating, it could just be a tech hub for them. So they'll be able to go online, do research, connect with other people, sell their products online or sell their services online. That might be the investment you require. And sometimes it's just to help them with skills. When I say investment, digital skills. Because the world is a global village. So you come up with that idea, but there's somebody that has that idea in Australia or Zimbabwe. Your ability to move to the market faster and, tap into that global market. So you could be doing that animation in your village in Kenya. But if you're able to put it on Instagram or Facebook, one movie producer in LA will see it and be interested and want your work. Think about it. So as I said, investment is important in the people, in giving resources. You need to create an enabling environment. So you need policies to support it. You know how it is. Sometimes it's just that the policies are not right. People start their businesses and their businesses are drained and killed by bad policy. Taxes and permits, it doesn't create the right enabling environment. If you give startups a little bit of a tax break, maybe the first 1 year, and maybe even the government supports them with some funds. Not everybody even needs the government funds. They just need the right policy in place, because you do have an environment to foster that. Allow the banks, give them cheaper loans. If this micro and small banks, microfinance banks can give small loans to entrepreneurs or businesses at a lower tax rate, these businesses will be able to thrive. Because think about it, is the beginning of these businesses, or the entrepreneurs are just starting out. They need that kind of support to go through that initial phase. Policies to help them, especially if it's got to do with, maybe it's an enterprise that's got to do with importing materials, but then they have to pay a lot of custom clearance and tax duty. That will kill their business. Because if they give half the money in paying permits, taxes, clearance, they will not have enough to run the business. So that's what I said about creating an enabling environment. You have to have really thought about it to say, how can we support entrepreneurs in the agricultural sector, in this sector, and that sector?
Okay. So, madam, we are almost at the end of the show. And the question I will ask you now is, what advice can you give to young and future entrepreneurs and leaders listening to us?
I will say, one thing COVID has shown everyone is that we are very resilient. We are very resilient people. Sometimes we think that human beings, so we are fragile. We are resilient. So in the next couple of days, as an entrepreneur, as a student, it will be more important that we stand strong. Whatever journey you are trying to take on, being an entrepreneur, being a student, or a career person, there is no straight path. There is no easy way to success. It won't come easy. There will be conflicts, there will be roadblocks, difficulties, mountains, whatever you want to call it. Some days you're going forward, some days it looks like you're going backwards. People that become successful have been shown that are people that are resilient, people that will keep going at something, even though it's difficult, even though it's complicated, they're looking for the answer. They keep trying and trying and keeping that energy to go, keeping themselves motivated. So I'll say it's important the next couple of days, the next couple of years that you show resilience. Because in whatever endeavor you come to do or you try to do, you would have some challenges.
Okay, sure. So, for you listening to this video, what you have to understand is that as an entrepreneur, you need to be resilient. If you are looking for a partner, you have to take into account the core value, the vision. If you're looking for how you can sell your product, ask yourself, what is the problem that I'm trying to solve in the community? What is the target market? Do market research to know exactly how you can advertise it. Where is the market, and go where the market for your product. And by doing that, you will easily find your way and participate in the development of your community. Yeah. So thank you, madam, for accepting our invitation. And the question that I would ask you now is, what is your impression about the career show?
I'm here. That means I support it. I like it when young people are doing innovative things, trying to influence their society positively, trying to contribute. And I think that's one of the reasons I chose to do it. It's something I would support whenever I see someone that is taking that courage to give and share and help others. I want to support it. So I would say on that note, I encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. There are lots of people you're speaking to, and you can never tell those you're helping. Because sometimes, like we're talking about resilience, you don't see the outcome. But there are people that are being helped. There are people that because they watched this show, they learned something new, or it prevented them from making the wrong decision. I think that's what's more important, that you're helping people. So thank you for doing this show, and keep doing the good work.
Thank you, madam. So thank you for watching, and see you for the next session.